those who don't know me, I'm Kled the Sped. I've been playing Marvel Rivals since the day it dropped. I'm currently Diamond 3. I used to be really good at Overwatch way back in the day, Overwatch 1 when it first dropped. But yeah, this is going to be the first video in a series of guides I'm making, obviously starting with Loki. So keep tuned if you're interested in more guides for the other champions I've been playing a lot. But anyways, let's get into it. So first I just want to cover Loki's basic kit for the people that are unfamiliar. Basically his passive is he does double damage if you're stabbing someone in the back with your melee attack. You'll also note that it plays a different sound cue when you actually land it. Loki's left click shoots a missile with an explosion radius. It heals allies and damages enemies. You'll also notice if an ally is full health, the missile will pierce straight through them. This is pretty important when we talk about gameplay later on. Loki's E Doppelganger essentially allows you to have 2 clones at any one time that mimic all your actions, melee attacks, left clicks, as well as your shift. Having multiple of these down obviously amplifies your damage by a lot since they both shoot at the same location you do. Loki's right click Deception allows you to go invisible until you take damage or perform an action. His right click also heals you while you're in invisibility. You can stay in invisibility indefinitely so long as you don't perform an action or take damage. You can also use your E, reload, and teleport to clones without leaving invis. Using your shift or alt, however, reveals you. I should also mention that pressing right click leaves a clone in your place. However, remember you can only have 2 maximum. So pressing right click while you already have 2 clones active will replace the oldest one. Loki's Devious Exchange ability allows you to teleport to any clone within a set distance. This works through walls. I highly recommend pairing it with your right click when teleporting away from a diver to confuse them even more. Also recommend putting this on a mouse button if you have a mouse that has buttons to make it easier to hit in a panic. Loki's Shift Regeneration domain causes you and any clones you have active to drop an area in which your whole team heals and also converts enemy damage into healing. This is a really powerful ability in a pinch to save your tanks from imminent death as well as to counter many ultimates. Loki's ultimate God of Mischief allows you to transform into the targeted hero, enemy or ally. You gain access to their full kit as well as their ultimate. You'll notice the timer of Loki ultimate gets extended when you use their ultimate. This is really useful for champs like Luna, Hulk, etc. who need time to make use of their ultimate. When you use the ult, it also sets you to full HP of that target, so sometimes it's useful to ult tanks to instantly go up to a high HP threshold. You also, when you transform back to Loki, you spawn at the health that you were when you took the ultimate. So keep that in mind if you used it in a panic when you were low health. Another important aspect about Loki is his team up with Hela. Whenever Hela gets a kill, Loki gets a 50 health shield that lasts a fairly long time, I'd say about 15 seconds. You can also have 2 of these, so you can get up to 350 health, like you see in this clip. Additionally, if you're dead, you can also get revived by Hela from her getting a takedown, which is extremely impactful in certain situations. So I just want to go over some pros and cons that come with playing Loki. To begin with, it's very hard to lock down, especially for dive champions. He has very high burst and sustained healing once you get the hang of him. He has very high damage, at least compared to other supports. He has great playmaking potential with his ultimate especially. He has great AoE heals, which is really useful when both your tanks stand together if you have 2 tanks. And he has a very powerful team up with Hela, which is probably the strongest hero in the game right now. The main drawbacks of playing Loki is that he's very difficult to learn initially as well as to get better at once you know what you're doing. He has very long cooldowns, each of them being more than 15 seconds, your shift being 25, which is absolutely massive for a basic ability. He's also very hard to heal flying targets with, especially if they're at some distance, since his projectiles have travel time and you can't utilize the explosion radius. A great way to use Loki's shift is to spawn a clone and place the shift on it. In this situation I completely countered a Groot ult, leading to us wiping them instead of getting wiped. A lot of the times it's better to use Loki ult as a defensive ult and steal a support ult, but in certain situations you can use offensive ults to counter the enemy offensive ults. Like in this situation where I stole the Peter Quill ult. In this clip I was stuck in a bad situation after my team died and respawned. This is a great time to use your right click to sneak past the enemy to get back into a good position. In a lot of maps, especially on defense, it's good to put your clones far back down long sight ranges so you can just start beaming heals. You can also stand still to pretend as if you are a clone, which limits the amount of attention you draw. However, once you start taking damage and people start focusing your clones, or if they have a Hela or Hawkeye, this act can be extremely risky and get you killed a lot of the time. So you have to judge whether it's worth doing. I also like to spawn a clone in front of me against Hawkeye and sit behind it so that way I can't be headshot. Most of the time you want to save your shift when your tanks get low. In this situation my Penny was about to die, so I walked up and placed it on her since I didn't have an E to cast. Also, this Venom going in hard with his ult means I can place an E and teleport out of the way of it to keep myself safe. In this situation the two supports were getting hard dove by Venom, so I used my shift to keep myself alive. Unfortunately the other support didn't get in the zone and died, and I was stuck in a bad situation with Hela. I used right click here to make sure that the Hela couldn't kill me. What you can do is spawn clones behind the person while you're in Viz to get some high damage with your backstab. In this situation I scared the Hela into ulting. Don't panic, ult Hulk. I found this out the hard way. This situation perfectly showcases teleporting away into right click to keep yourself safe. Additionally, most of your Loki ult should be on a support, as otherwise you're leaving your team a support down for the duration of your ult. In this situation I used my ally Luna ult to secure the win. Loki really likes spots where he can sit far back but still have direct access to his teammates and enemies to shoot them with heals and damage. This is one particular spot I like in Tokyo 99 Convoy. In this situation I was in quite a bad spot after a few enemies popped ultimate, so I tried to take cover behind this box. After I realized I was being pushed, I decided the next best option is to try and sneak out. Don't be afraid to stay in your invisibility to get yourself to a better spot. Your team isn't going to get healing if you die anyways. Also, you can use your shift to buy time for you to get a nice clone to teleport to, getting you back to safety. Let's just pretend I didn't immediately die after doing that. With Loki, you can actually spawn your clones on the payload, which allows them to move up with you as you move with the payload. This is pretty good in saving clones, especially if your team is pushing up like they are in this game. I can stand behind my clones as a meat shield and just keep blasting heals. Another thing I like to do is aim for the backs of my teammates, so that way if they're full HP, my projectiles fly through them and hit the enemy. And if they're not, they get healed. This is especially effective if your teammates are playing melee champs like Hulk or Thor, because oftentimes you will heal them and damage the enemy with the same shot. In this clip, the defense wasn't going too well, so I decided we needed to back out. I was doing a couple of extra heals and then realized it was just me and Venom alive and there was no chance of us fending off the enemy, so I stealthed out. When you use your right click, you leave a clone behind. This is really useful for teleporting back if you ever need to. In this situation, Doctor Strange portaled into point and I teleported through the wall to my clone. Really handy to keep in mind that you can always teleport through the walls to your clone. My last tip for Loki is to learn the other champions, at least to a basic level, whether it be in practice tool like you see here or in quick play games. Either way, to play Loki and use his ult effectively, you're going to need to know every champion in the game, what their ult does and what their basic kit does. You never know when it might call for a situation for you to transform into a Black Panther, for example. And also the amount of times you accidentally ult the wrong person. You don't want to get trapped in a bad form that you have no idea what the abilities do. Trust me, I've been there. Thanks for watching my guide. I hope you learned something. Took a lot to put this all together, so I'd appreciate if you left a like. Anyways, see you in the next one.